The signal that reached Earth, the distress signal, was weak, barely more than static, but Earth heard it. It came from a dying world on the edge of the Orion Arm. The sender, a small insectoid species called the Krelek, had been peaceful farmers. They had no armies, no fleets, only soil under their claws and stars above their domes. When war came, they had no chance. The invaders, a brutal warrior race known as the Varnok, struck like lightning. They didn't negotiate. They didn't explain. They burned towns, took slaves, and sent back footage of their destruction to other nearby systems as a warning. No one answered the cries of the Krelek. The Galactic Council debated. Then delayed. Then ignored. The Varnok were powerful, after all, and no one wanted war, except Earth. On a quiet Tuesday, deep inside a Terran orbital command station, a junior analyst named Tom picked up the signal. He showed it to his supervisor, who forwarded it to defense. Within hours, the call had reached Earth's high command point. 1 week later, the Deathworlders were moving. These weren't diplomats. These weren't peacekeepers, they were the elite, war-born, trained in the harshest places humanity had to offer. Soldiers who'd grown up on planets where the weather could kill you faster than an enemy's blade. Warriors who knew that survival meant strength, speed, and no hesitation. They flew in silence. The ship, Grave Wind, cut through space like a phantom. Sleek, dark, and built for precision destruction, it carried just one unit, 5 humans known only by their call signs: Flint, Ash, Rook, Bear, and Vale. Each had survived battles that others called impossible. Each had been trained to strike, vanish, and return only when the job was done. They didn't come to talk, they came to end the war. As Gravewind entered the Krelek system, they saw the aftermath of the invasion. Broken buildings. Smoke rising from forests. Signals filled with screams. And silence. Drones buzzed the skies, searching for survivors or rebels. The Krelek were hiding in caves now, afraid to light fires, afraid to breathe too loudly. Vale, the team scout, leaned forward in her seat. Reading multiple Varnok ships in orbit, she said. They're using old Council patrol cruisers, probably stolen. Ash, the team's leader, gave a nod. We go in quiet. No broadcasts. No warnings. Flint smiled. Good. I brought the loud rounds anyway. The humans weren't here to play politics. They weren't here to scare, they were here to teach the Varnok a lesson written in blood and fire. In orbit, the Varnok laughed. Their sensors picked up the Terran ship, but they didn't raise alerts. One ship. Small crew. No weapons charging. They'd made a mistake. Gravewind descended through the clouds like a whisper. Its landing barely stirred the wind. The moment the hatch opened, the humans vanished into the trees. 5 shadows. No sound. The first Varnok patrol didn't even realize they were being hunted. They were checking a destroyed Krelek village when the forest came alive. 1 went down with a blade through the chest. Another never saw the net that pinned him to a wall. 2 more fired wildly and missed. Bear dropped from a tree and crushed the last one with a punch that broke armor and bone. When the noise stopped, the team vanished again. This was only the beginning. From orbit, the Varnok commanders reviewed the patrol. Silence. Still no panic. They assumed a rebel ambush. A glitch. A broken combat. Within an hour, 3 more patrols went silent. Then a dropship exploded. Then an outpost went dark. By morning, the Varnok were no longer laughing, and the humans, Earth's Deathworlders, had only just begun. Strike from the shadows. The Varnok commander, Krulok, paced inside the command outpost. His scales twitched, and his second pair of eyes blinked nervously. 7 squads lost, he hissed. In a single night. How? No answer came. The officers around him stared at their monitors, too afraid to speak. The battlefield reports were nothing but static, blood, and vanishing heat signatures. The humans left no survivors. Down below, the Deathworlders moved with deadly focus. They didn't march in lines or build camps. They operated in the way their world had raised them. Unseen, ruthless, and swift, Vale, the scout, led the team through burned Krelek forests. Her sensors pinged enemy patrols, movement, and even underground bunkers. She marked everything. Ash gave simple orders: disable the radar tower. Silence the long-range comms. Take out the mortar nests. The team moved. Rook climbed the side of a ruined comm tower like it was a playground. He placed charges in silence, every movement smooth. When the tower came crashing down, it didn't just fall, it collapsed into itself, taking the backup systems with it, bare-handled the bunkers. He didn't bother with stealth. He walked in through the front door, armor heavy, footsteps loud. The Varnock tried to fight. They shot. They screamed. They hit nothing. Bear walked out of the smoke alone, fire behind him, without a scratch. Flint, their long-range specialist, perched on a ridge. His rifle was older than most Varnock tech, but in his hands it was a weapon of surgical death. Every shot dropped a soldier mid-step. Every bullet silenced a command. By the time the Varnock noticed the sniper, it was already too late. Ash led the assault on a captured village. The Krelek survivors were being held in pens, guarded by Varnock warriors drunk on stolen wine. The humans moved like ghosts. 1 minute, the guards were laughing. The next, they were lying on the ground, eyes wide, weapons gone, blood staining the dust. Ash pulled open the gate. Inside, dozens of Krelek stared at her with wide eyes. "You're safe now," Ash said quietly. "Earth heard your call." An elder stepped forward, antennae shaking. "You are not like the others." "No," Ash said. "We are worse." Back in orbit, the Varnock fleet finally responded. Warships were activated. Shields powered up. Dropships launched. Commander Krulok ordered a full sweep of the forests. "Find them. Burn every tree if you must." But that was the wrong move. The Deathworlders had wanted the Varnock to overreact. Now they had. As the first Varnock gunship screamed over the trees, they hit traps, EMP bombs, spike blasts, wire snares. Rotor blades jammed. Ship spiraled into mountainsides. Smoke filled the sky, and from the shadows, the humans attacked again. This time, it wasn't 5 patrols. It was 10. And none of them returned. By now, the Krelek were starting to come out of hiding. Slowly, they lit small fires. They whispered to each other. They looked to the forests and heard the fighting, the distant roars, the sharp cracks, the sudden silence. Hope was returning. Ash regrouped with the team. Her face was smudged with dust, and her rifle still hot from use. "Next step?" Vale asked. Ash pointed toward the main Varnock base in the valley below. "We end it," she said. "Tonight." For above, on the Varnock flagship, Krulok stared at the flames across the planet's surface. 1 word appeared on his monitor, sent by an unknown frequency. "Just one, run." Asterisk. The night Earth struck back. The Varnock fortress in the valley was massive, walls made of steel plates torn from starships, gates thick enough to stop a tank, and towers armed with plasma turrets that glowed in the darkness like angry eyes. It was meant to be untouchable, but the humans weren't here to be impressed. From a hill above, Ash studied the base through her visor. "They've packed everyone inside. Full lockdown," she said. "They are scared." "Good," Bear replied, cracking his knuckles. "Scared enemies make mistakes." Flint checked his rifle. "Want me to soften the outer wall?" Ash shook her head. "No. This time we go loud. They need to see us. They need to understand." The plan was simple: divide, distract, destroy. At midnight, Gravewind returned from orbit and hovered silently just above the clouds. Its engines were cold, cloaked, and deadly. From the side bay, 4 stealth pods dropped. Like falling stars, they landed near the Varnock base without a sound. Seconds later, explosions lit up the north side of the wall. Ammo stores ignited. A plasma tank turned to molten scrap. Guards panicked. Alarms blared. The Varnock commander inside the control tower, Krulok, screamed for order. "Focus fire to the north," he shouted. "Don't let them breach." That was the distraction. The real strike came from the south. Vale and Bear approached the wall on foot, cloaked under darkness and camo tech. Vale climbed first, reaching the turret post in seconds. The Varnock gunner barely had time to turn before her blade sliced through his armor. Bear used a launcher to blast open a weak point in the gate, and then charged through with his fists. Raised and a grin on his face, Flint opened fire from the ridge. One shot at a time. Each one perfect. Each one deadly. The Varnock scrambled, confused, then the message came through every speaker in the fortress. Ash voice clear. Cold. "Human. You were warned. You ignored them. You burned their homes. You enslaved farmers. Now Earth answers. This is your reckoning." Krulok froze. He'd fought in a dozen wars. Conquered 5 species. Broken fleets, but never had he heard such calm fury. Inside the base, chaos exploded. Ash entered the control center alone. The guards tried to stop her. They failed. With precise movements and fire that seemed to follow her thoughts, Ash tore through the Varnock defenses. She didn't pause. Didn't miss. Her steps were like a rhythm of death, controlled, measured, unstoppable. Krulok tried to flee through a side tunnel, but Rook was already waiting, going somewhere. Rook asked, lifting him by the throat, "I surrender." Krulok choked. Rook didn't blink. "Tell that to the Krelek." He dropped the commander at Ash's feet. Ash didn't speak. She just looked at Krulok with cold eyes and nodded once. From orbit, Gravewind fired one shot, precise, silent, and fast. It hit the center of the Varnock fortress with a soundless explosion. No fire. No debris. Just a sudden crater. When the smoke cleared, the fortress was no more. Ash stood on the edge of the blast zone, wind blowing through the silence. She tapped her comm. "Vale, bring the Krelek elders. They need to see this." Minutes later, a group of thin, wide-eyed Krelek arrived. Their antennae twitched with awe. "This place is yours again," Ash said. One small child looked up at her and asked, "Will the monsters return?" Ash knelt and looked the child in the eyes. "No," she said. "Because now they know who answered your call." Earth's message echoes. The flames from the Varnock fortress still smoldered when the human team climbed aboard Gravewind. The air was filled with quiet voices of the Krelek, now free, now standing in the ruins of what had been a prison. They didn't cheer, they watched. They stared at the 5 humans with awe and quiet understanding, because deep down, they knew something had changed. Ash stood in the hangar, her armor scorched but her stance still strong. "Any word from command?" she asked. Vale nodded. "They received the footage. Earth's response is in motion. But there's a problem." Ash raised an eyebrow. "Go on." "The Varnock fleets are moving. Full mobilization. Not just here. Other systems too." Flint muttered, "So they didn't learn." Rook leaned on his rifle. "Good. We'll teach them again." Ash didn't smile. "This isn't just about the Krelek anymore. The Varnock think they can push fear back into the stars. We are going to remind them what fear really looks like." In the far reaches of the sector, the Varnock Empire was already preparing revenge. Admiral Shirok, a decorated fleet leader, stood aboard his flagship Wrathclaw. His voice growled through the command bridge. "A human team destroyed our outpost. Erased an entire ground force. And now, they've embarrassed the Empire before the galaxy." Around him, holograms flickered, images of Ash's team, the destruction they caused, the message she broadcasted. "Send 10 warships," he ordered. "Burn that system. Leave no stone. No insect. No human trace behind." "Yes, Admiral." His lieutenants answered, but they didn't know Earth had already seen this coming. In orbit above the Krelek homeworld, more Terran ships arrived, dark, silent, shaped like blades in the void. The first was Vigilance, a support dreadnought. Then came Ashen Line, a fast strike cruiser. Then Cradle, a medical vessel not for humans. For Krelek, Ash watched from Gravewind's bridge as the fleet assembled. "We are not leaving them behind," she said. Commander Neil, patched in from orbit, gave a simple nod. "Confirmed. The Krelek are now under Terran protection." Vale glanced at her monitor. "We just went from quiet response to open warning." Flint grinned. "About time." Hours later, the Varnock fleet emerged from warp, massive, armed, and ready to crush. Admiral Shirok's ships surrounded the system in a fan formation, preparing to bombard the surface. He didn't issue a demand. He didn't even offer surrender terms. He only gave one order: fire. But the guns never went off, because at that moment, Earth's fleet uncloaked. 5 Terran warships, outnumbered, outgunned, but not afraid. Ashen Line moved first, cutting through the enemy formation with precision shots. Their plasma shells didn't just hit, they pierced. Varnock ships shattered like glass. Vigilance deployed drones, hundreds of them, darting through shields, disabling engines, slicing weapons apart. On the ground, Krelek watched the skies light up. It wasn't fear anymore. It was AWE. In the chaos, Gravewind slipped through enemy lines. Ash team dropped again, this time onto the Varnock flagship itself. Ash moved like a ghost. Rook cleared corridors. Flint sniped from vents. Bear crushed anything that moved. Vale shut down the systems. Shurok never saw them coming. By the time Ash stood in front of him, the Admiral was alone, his weapon shaking in his claws. "You're humans," he said. "You're not supposed to be this strong." Ash looked at him coldly. "We are not just humans. We are from Earth." Then she turned and walked away. Behind her, the bridge exploded. The battle was over in an hour. The Varnock fleet broke. Some tried to run. Some were captured. Most were lost in silence, and across the stars, a message from Earth was sent to every system that had heard the Krelek's original call for help. "We heard them. We answered. And we will answer again." Asterisk. The galaxy reacts. The message from Earth spread faster than light. In the heart of the Galactic Council chambers, leaders from dozens of species watched in silence as the footage played on every wall. Ash's voice echoed once more. "We heard them. We answered. And we will answer again." The room was tense. No one spoke. The council speaker, a grey-furred being with long antennae and a dozen blinking eyes, finally broke the silence. "This is not diplomacy." An aquatic ambassador hissed. "No. It is justice." Some were horrified by the violence. Others were relieved. A few were jealous, but all of them understood one thing: Earth had made its position clear. Humanity wasn't just part of the galactic community anymore. They were its sword. Back on the Krelek homeworld, a strange calm returned. Where there had been silence and fear, now there was rebuilding. Krelek farmers ventured out of hiding and began clearing fields. Younglings played near the rivers again. Terran engineers helped rebuild the shattered villages, using tools that worked faster than anything the Krelek had ever seen, and Earth's medical team treated the injured, no questions asked. Ash and her squad walked through the fields as Krelek elders offered gifts, fruits, fabrics, simple things. "We can't pay you," one elder said. Ash smiled. "You don't need to." Another elder stepped forward and placed a carved stone in her hands. "This is the mark of our first seed. It's given to those who protect our roots." Bear grinned. "Guess we are gardeners now." Rook chuckled. "With grenades." The Krelek laughed too, a sound Earth soldiers hadn't heard from them until now, but the galaxy wasn't done shaking. Far from the Krelek system, in the dark reaches of the Varnock border, a secret council met. 5 alien warlords, all powerful, all dangerous. One of them slammed a clawed fist on the table. "Earth is out of control. They've humiliated the Varnock. What happens when they come for us? We must act now. Together." A hooded figure stepped from the shadows. "No," he said, voice low. "You don't attack Earth. You study them. Understand them. And when they reveal their weakness, you strike." The room fell quiet. He continued, "Send spies. Plant agents. Watch what these Deathworlders truly are." They agreed, but they didn't know Earth was already watching them too. In Earth's orbit, aboard the Terran Command Station Bulwark, General Norris stood in front of a star map. Red zones marked potential threats. Yellow lights marked weak allies. One green dot blinked brightly. "The Krelek system, status on Ash team," she asked. "All safe. Mission success. Locals secured," the officer replied, "and the Varnock fleet crippled. Leadership shattered." "Good. Keep it that way." She stared at the board for a long time, then pointed to 5 nearby systems flashing in orange. "Prepare teams. If anyone else calls for help, I want Earth answering before they finish screaming." Inside Gravewind, Ash sat quietly, staring out into space. The stars moved slowly, but her mind was racing. Vale sat beside her. "You think they'll come back?" Ash nodded. "They always do." "Then we'll be ready," Vale replied. Ash turned to her, her voice steady. "No, next time, we won't wait." The Deathworlders had answered once, and now, the galaxy knew, Earth wasn't just defending the weak. It was drawing a line, and daring anyone to cross it. The trap laid in silence in the outer systems. Something was brewing. The galaxy had watched Earth strike with precision, power, and no mercy. Most species now hesitated before speaking Earth's name. Others tried to form alliances. A few wanted revenge. The hooded figure who had spoken at the secret council, known only as the Whisper, had begun a quiet campaign. He spread rumors of human weaknesses, of how Earth's Deathworlders were just flesh and blood, of how they were few in number, mortal, and he had a plan. A colony world, once neutral, sent out a desperate distress call. A new invasion. Hostiles attacking. Civilians in danger. The signal was faint, but real enough to pass Earth's filters. Inside Bulwark, Earth's command center, General Nora examined the data. It's from the Myrale system, the comms officer said. No prior contact with Earth, but the signs match a genuine crisis. Send a recon drone, Nora said. Already done. Confirmed damage to cities. Fire. Heat signatures suggest fighting. Nora nodded slowly. Too convenient. Too fast after Krelek. But if civilians are at risk, we answer. She tapped her console. Wake the Grave Wind. Ash and her team suited up again. Bear groaned. Didn't we just finish a war? Flint grinned. Rest is for the dead. Vale checked her equipment. The colony's forests are thick. We'll need stealth for entry. Ash spoke last. Something feels off. Be sharp. Assume nothing. Rook muttered, isn't that always the rule? Ash nodded once. This time, double it. Gravewind entered the Myrale system in total silence. From orbit, everything looked too perfect. Cities burned, but without resistance. Fire spread, but no alarm sounded. Ships hovered, but didn't fire. It was a stage, set just right. Ash noticed at first. Where are the bodies? Vale scanned the ground. No civilians. No comm chatter. No panicked signals. Flint zoomed in with his scope. No enemies, either. Empty roads. Empty buildings. Bear slammed his gauntlet against the wall. It's a trap. Ash narrowed her eyes. Then let's spring it carefully. The squad dropped into the forest edge, near a ruined station. Sensors pinged faint movement. Shadows flickered across their motion scanners. But no shots came. They crept forward. Inside the building, they found fake blood. Scorch marks set up to look like a struggle. Audio loops of cries for help. Every detail carefully arranged. This isn't just a trap, Vale whispered. It's a message. Ash turned slowly. Then someone's watching. She activated her comm. Gravewind, deploy aerial sweep. Full jamming protocol. But it was already too late. From the hills around the city, over 50 hidden launches rose from camouflaged bunkers. A single Varnock signal was broadcast. Now they bleed. Missiles screamed through the air. The team scattered. Ash dove into a collapsed structure as an explosion ripped through the ground behind her. Flint rolled down a hill, firing as he fell. Vale pulled Bear behind a crushed truck as shrapnel tore trees in half, but they were still alive, and now, angry, Ash activated her squad channel. Phase echo. Burn their plan down. Rook set charges across the road. Vale jammed the Varnock targeting systems. Flint dropped enemies from the cliffs one by one, each shot hitting with surgical precision. Bear launched forward, charging the nearest bunker with a roar that echoed through the valley. His fists hit harder than artillery. They weren't running, they were pushing in. For every step the enemy took, they lost 2. Ash cut her way to the command node. There, she found the Whisper, tall, cloaked, and grinning behind a glass mask. I knew you'd come, he said. Ash raised her weapon. And you won't leave. The Whisper raised a hand. You think this is about one ambush? It's about fear. We needed to know if Deathworlders bleed. You bleed. Ash stepped closer. Yes. But we bleed standing up. With one shot, the mask shattered, the Whisper collapsed, and behind him more detonations went off. The trap had failed, but Ash now understood something darker. This wasn't the last attempt. It was only the first test. Asterisk. Deathworlders never fall alone. The smoke hadn't cleared when Gravewind returned for extraction. The team was battered, suits scorched, armor cracked, blood in places, but alive. Ash sat in the rear bay, helmet off, eyes cold. Vale wrapped a bandage around Flint's arm. Bear sat quietly for once, his fist still clenched. Rook checked the charges on his vest, double, then triple. The ambush had been brutal. Not just a battle, but a declaration: we are watching you. We want you dead. But the message the enemy hoped to send had backfired, because Earth had survived. Worse, for the enemy, Earth was listening now, and Earth remembered. High above, back aboard the Terran Command Station Bulwark, General Nora reviewed the Myralese footage. The Whisper's body. The hidden bunkers. The setup. They didn't just want to kill Deathworlders, she said. They wanted to break trust. To make us hesitate the next time someone asked for help. She looked around the war room. We won't. A hologram lit up beside her, hundreds of small dots now blinking across the star map, new signals, new calls for aid, small colonies. Refugees. Abandoned systems too weak to defend themselves, they are calling for help, the intel officer said. Just like the Krelek did. Nora gave the only reply Earth ever gave: then we answer. The team didn't get to rest long. 3 days after the ambush, they received new orders. Their next destination, a Warton moon where bioweapons had been used. A ghost colony with survivors trapped underground. Ash stared at the orders and nodded. Same gear. Different ghosts. Rook strapped on his rifle. Let's make sure they know who haunts them. Bear checked his armor's power core. Ready. Flint loaded his rifle, slower this time. Let's make this one loud. Vale smiled faintly. We'll be legends before we ever retire. Ash stood at legends don't rest, she said. They rise. Across the galaxy, whispers spread again, but they were no longer about weakness. They were about fire in the dark. They were about 5 humans who could bring down empires. They were about Earth, and on every world where the desperate waited in silence, they looked to the sky. They hoped for the same ship. They whispered the same name, Deathworlders. And they knew if Earth heard them, someone would come. And fury would follow. Asterisk.